Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about a simple and quick way on how to blend your 3D Megascans into your terrain. Alright, let's get started. Now for this I'm just going to do an example just so you guys can see what's really going on, and then I'm going to do it with an asset. So let's bring in a sphere. Right now we have this white sphere that's just intersecting with our terrain. I'm going to create a material. This is test 01. And let me just go into my material. I'm going to give it a color, hold number 3 and click. They'll give me a constant 3 vector and I will plug it into the base color. And here we can decide what color do we want to have. Let's just go for like blue around here. I'm going to apply. And we're going to put this material into our sphere. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how the function happens here, because this is a very contrasty color when it comes to the terrain. So if we go back into our material, you're going to see that over here in your material piece, there is something called pixel depth offset. What this does is it actually pushes the rendering of the object into the background the higher its value. So we're going to increase its value in order to push the object into the background, and this creates kind of like a fade in effect that looks like the assets actually fading in or blending, if you will, into the landscape. So let me just add a parameter real quick right here. I'm going to hold the key of S and click. This will give me a scalar parameter. I'm gonna name this video setup, and I'm gonna plug it right into pixel depth offset. I'm gonna say apply, and we are going to create an instance of that material so we can use it. So let me throw it in here, double click so we can see this material's properties, and just check this new scalar value that we have here. So if I were to increase this value, you're gonna see that there's some weird shading going on. This is one of the caveats of using this technique, is that you will have to turn off cast shadows, but in some instances this doesn't affect from the quality of the asset too much. I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to uncheck cast shadows, and as you can see that went away, and we can keep on increasing our value. All right. And now you're seeing what this does. What it does is it creates kind of like a cutout effect into our asset, but what it's doing is actually pushing it into the background. So that's why the pixel depth offset name comes from. Now, this isn't exactly what we want. We don't want to cut out our object. We want to fade it into the terrain and blend it. The way that we do that is by actually going into the master material that we created. And instead of adding a scalar parameter, we're going to add a dither. So a dither, think of that kind of like a soft fade in into the intersection. So this dither does a soft fade, and this one comes with an anti-aliasing. So that would really help us with the transition. So I'm just going to right click here and I'm going to type dither. This comes automatically. And now what we're going to do is we're going to combine these two and put them both here in the pixel depth offset. The way that we do that is by using a multiply node. So I hold letter M and click. They'll give me a multiply node. So I'm going to do one here, and now do this one over here. All right. So now we have both of them. I'm going to apply and just gonna get out, and I'm going to open my instance. Let me just make sure that this asset has the instance, and now we can test it out. So if we increase the value, you're gonna see that it has kind of like a fade in feature into the terrain, and I can move my sphere, and that fade in always stays at the intersection. So I can increase the value to say like 20, and you can see this fades more and more. We wanted to, we could increase this a lot, and you can see there's a lot of fade in. Now this doesn't look good because the contrasting colors. Usually you would use these techniques for like scattering assets, foliage assets, something like that, that will blend right into your ground. If it's something that's contrasting in colors, it would be really telling if you use this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use this asset right here. So if I bring this asset, I'm going to rotate it because it's backwards. And you can see that the asset, well, it does have a seam. So if we, let me just get rid of this sphere. If we see around here, you can see that there's a clear seam around our asset and it's clearly not blending in. The way that we're going to do the blending is by applying the same technique that we use with the sphere. However, because this is a Megascan asset, there's one little step that we have to go through first. So you open your Megascan material, and you're going to see down here, you will be familiar with this if you have seen any of my other tutorials. You will have your master material down here. Usually the materials that we get for the Megascan assets, they are instances of a master material. So what we need to do is we need to go to this master material by clicking the magnifying glass. This will take us to the folder where this is located. Double click it and we can edit its properties. All right, so what we're going to do is just exactly the same that we did on the sphere. I'm going to get a scalar parameter. So holding the letter S and click. Name this video set. I'm going to get a multiply node by holding M. I'm going to plug this in here, plug this in here. And now I'm going to bring in the ditter so we can actually pull it out from here. And that is all we have to do. So just save this and let it compile a little bit. Now, after we have compiled, we can go into our asset material and we're going to find that right here. Since we did it on the master material, you will always find it under the asset instance, because this is pretty much an instance of that material. So we're going to turn it on. First thing we need to do is turn off cast shadows. So you're going to see here that even though we turn off cast shadows, there's still some shadowing to it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start increasing this. And as you can see, let's give it a 20. Now our asset is blending into the terrain. So it's a little bit of a fade in. We can actually reduce and do like 15. As opposed to this, which has a clear seam. So now our asset is blending right into the terrain. So it looks like this rock is actually coming out of the ground, as opposed to having one big seam like this. So that's why this technique is so useful. There's this little bit of a caveat by turning off the shadows, but you can see that I still have some shadows on this asset. Now, because we are talking about the Megascan assets and they all have one master material, if you make that change and you have more than one asset Megascan that's sharing this material, all of your assets will have this. So you may want this for certain assets and not for every single asset that you're using. In case they are sharing the same master material, all you have to do is right click on top of your material and go to duplicate, and you'll get a duplicate master material. And for that, we can always go in here. And actually what I'm going to do is just go on the master material and delete this. Get rid of that. Apply. You're going to see it tries to compile again. All right, you're going to see that we have a huge seam again. And all we have to do now is open the material that we want the dithering to happen to and bring this parent into it. And there you go. Now we have our asset with the dithering blending effect, and we have the master material left alone in case we don't want every single asset to have this kind of effect. All right, that was it for this video. Just how to quickly do a blending between a 3D asset and your terrain with the Megascans. Please leave a like, that really helps the channel. Share this video around. Leave a comment with what tutorials you would like to see in the future. I know there's a second way to do this, so I'm going to show that in another tutorial that's coming very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.